When Pixar launched Toy Story in 1995, all children watched their toys secretly in the hopes of seeing them move. Now that we've grown up and seen movies like Annabelle, that dream is a nightmare. That is, if an inanimate object moves by itself, most likely it's possessed by a demon. And nobody wants to deal with that. However, there are those who have registered these cases. So today, we'll show you 5 toys caught moving on camera. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Annabelle's cousin. As children, we weren't satisfied with just messing up our room. We also invaded the rooms of our parents or older siblings. We always left our toys everywhere. You surely had a favorite one. Maybe it was a huge doll or a beautiful stuffed animal. You walked around your house and sometimes you forgot where you left it. The same has happened in the case we'll show you next. A boy who's talking on a cell phone on his bed is accompanied by his sister's doll and his girlfriend. The last one is documenting a romantic moment as a couple. However, she never expected everything would end up being a paranormal recording. In the foreground, we have the young man and the doll, both sitting on the bed with a closet in the background. While he watches one of the corners of the room, he doesn't notice the doll begins to turn its face to look at him. He innocently continues his conversation, but realizes something strange is happening and decides to see the toy. However, it's already too late. The doll has returned to its initial position. Both start looking at each other. He sees the corner and the doll watches him. The boy turns to her, but she's returned to normal. All this makes us think the toy is playing a joke on him. It seems impossible and funny at times that this guy doesn't have a clue. Why doesn't his girlfriend tell him what's happening? Is she paralyzed with fear? Or is she the one playing the joke? The fact is, the boy finally notices the doll's movement and tries to deceive it. He turns his gaze so quickly the doll doesn't have time to pretend she has no life. But things get worse and she starts to move her head quickly from one side to the other, manifesting her possession. Although he sees her with a little indifference, he gets out of bed and hits her, making her fly through the air. This may not be the scariest video on the list, but it has earned a place because of the laughter it has brought us. Do you find it funny, or did it scare you? We would like to know what you think of this case. Have you ever felt that your toys are watching you? Number 4. Woody is possessed. The franchise baptized as the feature films of Pixar, Toy Story, has raised a lot of money with all kinds of products. These range from video games and movies to action figures of their characters. It shouldn't surprise you that many children wish to have one of these toys. So we couldn't leave behind the day Woody was possessed by a demon. As you can see, a father has taken his little one to a toy store. Both think of buying the child's favorite character. They ignore every other action figure because they want the cowboy. Woody itself sits on the box and isn't wearing its characteristic hat on his head. It must have fallen off. The child shakes the box and he's happy about his next friend. The recording continues and the father starts recording the child and the doll on the bookshelf. Everything appears to be normal, but at any moment, the toy that was standing falls, sitting on the floor of its packaging. Maybe this seems normal and not at all shocking, but what you'll see next will disturb you. Time has passed in both their lives, but the father is worried about the attitude his son has taken. He's become a distant and scary child, so he's decided to hide a camera in his room, believing this will help him understand what's happening. However, the man never imagined what he would end up discovering. As you're watching, in the image you can see a collection of toys from the movie Toy Story. Rex, Jessie, and Buzz Lightyear are some of the action figures. This shouldn't surprise you, it's the kid's favorite movie. We can't forget Woody. If you haven't seen it yet, it's lying on the ground behind the astronaut. When we believe everything is fine, the cowboy begins to retrieve his hand on his own. But things don't end there. In another shot, now with most of the toys lying down and Woody on top of a crocodile, we see how the cowboy raises his right arm and then raises his trunk forward. This doesn't last for a long time since it loses its energy and falls on the ground. This terrifies us a lot. There's not a person nearby manipulating the situation. We already understand why the father was so worried about the child. We ask you, do you think this is a demonic possession or just a sick joke? Number 3. Barbie doesn't want to play. The American company Mattel is in charge of manufacturing the Barbie doll series. They went on the market in March of 1959. Since then, it has been the main image of the company. The importance this toy has had in the industry, despite having been turned into numerous scandals and lawsuits, is no secret to anyone. Barbie is the most famous doll when it comes to selling toys at Christmas, although Elsa from Frozen gives her a tough competition. The video on the 3rd spot of our countdown revolves around a girl who's recorded by her parents while playing with her 2 dolls. She dramatizes with her toys a scene from everyday life. A friend meets another in the street and they begin to talk about unimportant topics. If you have children or small children around you, you know very well this type of game are very common. especially if the child has no other kids around. The video continues without any problem and the girl keeps playing, forgetting that the camera is close. The most shocking part takes place when she looks at her toy directly in the eye and asks a question. However, no one ever expected what happened next. The doll turns its head without someone moving it and watches its owners directly in the eyes. Obviously, the girl is frightened by the unexpected reaction and drops both toys. We're not asking where this video came from. Because of the low quality it has, it makes us think that it's very old. In addition, the dolls the girl has in both hands look like they're from an old Mattel collection. What do you think the girl would think if she saw this video now that she's grown up? Sure, she would remember the very bad experience. After all, only she knows what really happened that day. Number 2. Demon Elf. Is the elf on the shelf a tradition fulfilled in your home? The one saying that every year an elf from the North Pole comes to your house. The main job of this little one is to be Santa Claus's eyes. That is, he'll inform Santa if the children of the house fulfill their duties and are good children. The story also tells that, every night, these pixies make some mischief which must be discovered by the kids. In general, it's the parents who are behind all these jokes. The most popular ones are dyeing the water in the toilet or making the sink a marshmallow pool. Undoubtedly, children enjoy this tradition, especially if they leave their clothes around the entire house. However, the next video isn't tender or charming at all. As you can see, on the table there is an elf on the shelf. He wears a very red Christmas suit and a hat of the same color. He has his hands on his lap and a huge smile. His eyes look to one side, creating complicity with the viewer. His rosy cheeks and his painted blue eyes make you feel empathy and affection for the doll. Probably these were the reasons that led the cameraman to document this adornment. Maybe he was going to post a video on his social networks and show off the little elf to his friends. However, his arrogance was punished in the worst way. Stare for a while directly into the elf's eyes to discover the mystery. Did you see it? The elf moved his eyes. But how could he have done it? It's impossible. His eyes, eyebrows, and eyelashes had been painted over his plastic head. Neither we nor the person who captured these images understands what has happened here. Is it magic? Does the doll really have life? Is it true he watches you and tells Santa Claus everything? We're only sure of one thing. No matter how tender this tradition is, for no reason in the world are we going to place an elf on the shelf in our home this Christmas. We prefer to be like the Grinch and have no Christmas spirit, rather than ending up like some kids who are in risk of dying in the hands of a doll. Number 1. Ouija. We're sure you've heard, if not played, about the Ouija board. That wooden board marked by numbers and letters. This allows the people who play to communicate with the spirits of other dimensions. They can be souls in pain or deceased people or animals. In the worst case, players enter a mental trance from which it's difficult to get out. The origin of this artifact is uncertain. It's believed it appeared in the late 19th century after an explosion in spiritualist regions. However, it wasn't until 1890 that it was patented by the American Elijah Jefferson Bond. This man promoted the Ouija as a talking board that allowed people to talk with the spirits that traveled through Europe and the USA. According to him, the name meant bad luck in an ancient Egyptian language. However, the patent went from company to company until William Fuld. This last man changed the origin of the name. According to him, the words oui and G means yes in French and German, respectively. There are also companies that have sold it under the name Witch's Board. The video we'll see next revolves around 3 friends who decided to test the fame of this board. The boys who wore black clothes recorded the entire convening in order to have evidence if a paranormal activity were to occur. The boy in the middle had the Ouija on his legs, while his friends on the sides carried a candle in their hands. As the rules indicate, each participant placed his index finger on the triangle that rested on the wood. And waiting for an answer, they began to ask all sorts of questions. The minutes soon passed and the triangle walked through the letters. However, none of that surprises us as much as what happened behind them. Maybe you haven't noticed, but above the closet there's a white teddy bear. This makes slight movements at the same time the game continued. Was it possessed by a soul in pain? One of the players noticed what was happening and warned his teammates. They stopped the game and get up to watch the bear. They touch it to see if it is moved by a small animal or something similar. However, they don't find anything and decide to continue with their question. But the bear shakes its head before they can ask a question, and the kids jump out of fear. Everything that happened is really ironic. Would you dare to play this game? Alright, Top 5ers, if you haven't already, make sure to visit our other channel, The Brilliant, for even more interesting list videos that'll blow your mind. But I'm warning you, the videos over on The Brilliant are extremely addicting to watch as well. There'll be a link in the description to the channel, so make sure to come and visit us. Or you can go to our latest video popping up on screen right now. Oh, and have you visited TheFinestPost.com to enjoy the most amazing articles you'll ever get to read? If not,